Hello, everyone, and welcome back to GEMS Podcast. For those of you that are new to the community, I am Miss Genesis Mars Kemp. For those seasoned listeners, thank you so much for paying homage and supporting us again. With me today is Jim Lee, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about who Jim Lee is. So, Jim has received his Bachelor of Science degree in economics from UCLA in 2010 and started his career as an inside sales representative for LoopNet Costar by being the top sales rep and winning a 50K sales incentive bonus. He used that savings to purchase his first two bed and bath condo and learned the importance of having multiple streams of income. Woohoo! Now, through real estate syndication, he has invested in over 600 units in the past 2 years, where he has participated as a general partner and limited partner. So we're going to dive in to how Jim got started there and really peel back the onion layers. But before we do, I want to welcome Jim to the show. Jim, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Genesis.
My pleasure. And before we dive into the main part of the segment, I always like to connect with my guests because I'm connecting with you, but also the audience is connecting with you as well. So there are two options you can choose from. We can do either a rapid fire 10 question game or an icebreaker. What are you in the mood for?
Icebreaker.
Okay. So I want you to share something adventurous, crazy, or character building that you have done in your life that not even your community knows about you.
So I would say back in school when I went to UCLA, I used to break dance, and this is something
Ooh.
that not a lot of people know about. I used to be part of the sessions, the jam sessions, and at UCLA. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue after school because I tore my meniscus doing some air flares, some aerial techniques and stuff like that. So that's one thing that most people don't know about me.
Wow, that is super cool. And I'm big into like the dance movies and stuff like that, like Step Up and all of that, Stomp the Yard. So, wow, I would have never guessed that. So, thank you for sharing that fun fact. Now we're going to dive into the work that you're doing post UCLA and what really got you interested in the real estate space. So I know in your bio, you mentioned having multiple streams of income. Did you have anyone else within your community or your network pipeline that was in the real estate space?
Absolutely not. I came across working LoopNet, which for those that don't know, LoopNet is basically Zillow for commercial real estate.
Mm.
But I happened to come across that by luck in my because back in 2010, if most of the people remember, that's right after the 2008 subprime mortgage crash. But on top of that, 2010 was when the European debt crisis had happened. So it was definitely a really tough time to find a job opportunity back then. And I was after graduating from UCLA, I was jobless for a year and a half. And I went through hundreds of interviews, and eventually I got so good at selling myself that I found inside sales, sales position. And so it was a good fit for me because I'm an introvert. I can just stay in the office, make dials all day long, and not have to face people face to face. So that was where I started to learn everything about real estate.
And thank you for sharing that. So, knowing what you know now, if you could go back in time and switch anything regarding when you first entered into the real estate space to where you are now, what changes, if any, would you make?
Oh yeah, great question. So one thing I definitely regret was not keeping all my contacts, my network. As I continue to pursue making real estate, making a career out of real estate, I realize how important it is to have your network, because you probably hear this: your network is your net worth. It's all about building long-term relationship with your clients, with your investors, with your property managers, your real estate agents, and so forth. It's a partnership team game. So that's something that I if I can go back in time and just from all those hundreds and thousands of people that I talked to and just keep them on my Rolodex, that would be one thing I would change.
I love that. And I second that. So, actually, Fun fact about me, when I was in high school, I was doing a co-op. So my first job was actually real estate. I was working for a personal broker. And I remember when the opportunity came and she said, "Would you like to be licensed?" And I said no. And I told people I was young and dumb. And had I know what I know now, I would have definitely gotten my real estate license because it would have been an advantage to me, but it's never too late. And another question for you, Jim. So you invested in a condo as your first property. Why did you go the condo route?
So back then, to give a little background about me is I was born and raised in Taiwan with the saver's mentality. In Asian culture, we've been taught if you can't pay for something in cash, you can't afford it. In our mind, debt is slavery and cash is freedom. So what I've been doing my whole life was just save as much as I can. And eventually I came across a short sale. I just happened to come across a short sale that was my first deal. And short sale typically requires all cash offer. So it kind of worked, with what I can produce, basically what I have at my disposal. And also the idea of just being comfortable with not having to have deal with using debt because I didn't know much about it. But after I acquired that 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom condo, that's when I started to educate myself more and read, the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And he talks about why would you not use debt to leverage to amplify your returns for tax, advantages and so forth. So that was a bit of a mindset shift right there.
I like that. And so I'm also, well, I come from a Caribbean background. So my mom always said the same thing. If you can't afford it in cash, then you shouldn't get it. And she didn't really believe in putting a bunch of stuff on credit. But nowadays they teach you credit is everything and you have to have some type of credit history. So knowing that methodology, what would you say to someone who wants to get into real estate, but they have that same mindset that you came from, or the mindset that, my family gave me, because they may only see it one way, but then I feel like, in my opinion, it's limiting them from their endless possibilities and really tapping into a different tax bracket, a different stream of income, and just making your money work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all it takes is just a little bit of financial education. I think we're just not educated in the area where I think for me personally, when I had that savers mentality, I was just comfortable living in my own bubble, and I didn't feel like I need to borrow from anybody. But as as I'm looking to grow my real estate portfolio, um, you're always thinking about how can I make more money? How can I make more money using money, right? And
Mhm.
that's the idea of investing in general. So that's when I started to really educate myself about, okay, so how can I use debt as leverage? How why is people talking about that? And once I started to study, then I realized, there's good debt versus bad debt, right? Bad debt is the ones that, credit card bills that you got to pay off because those, interest rate will just eat you alive. And then there's good debt, which is you can borrow banks money to leverage banks money to pay off your I mean to start buying real estate, but then you use the rental income to pay off your debt, and that's considered good debt because you're using money to make more money. So you just have to kind of educate and be more financial literate in what you do, and continue to find ways to make the whole process more efficient.
And thank you for sharing that. And you're younger self, and you seem like a lot of trial and error, and also having, the knowledge that you acquired. And I'm sure you're, doing the rinse and repeat. So you started off with a 2 bedroom, 1 bath condo. You now have 600 units. So you are growing your portfolio. So when you had that growth mindset, what was your next step whenever you transitioned from that 2 bedroom, 1 bath condo? Like, did you buy one more property, or did you buy a collection of properties next?
So what I did was, after acquiring the 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom condo, I had done pretty much, I was an active investor, meaning I've been actively involved in the project. I did everything from A to Z: find the tenant, run the background check, collect the rent, do the maintenance myself. And I realized that was a big mistake because I wanted to be more passive. So it's and again, that comes back to educating, right? Education, because once I realized that, I realized I need to build a system. I didn't automate things. I need to have a list of vendors I can go to, so I don't have to be stressed out about doing fixing toilets at so midnight 12 a.m. so those are the things that I realized, and as I started to learn more about that, and that's how I come across syndication as well, because syndication is ultimately it's a partnership, right? It's a partnership between investors who pool their resources into single investment, and that allows you to invest multi-million-dollar deals such as multifamily or other commercial property. And syndication eliminates much of that risk while sharing in the upside. The property generates an income that will be split amongst all the investors, so it's a win-win situation for everyone. So in syndication, it requires partnership between property managers, real estate agents, a syndicator, the investors. So it's basically just the same thing, just building a system, automated, and instead of buying one two-bedroom bathroom one two two-bedroom one bathroom condo, we're basically just targeting 100+ unit apartment building where it's easier to scale. And that's ultimately that's where I jumped from 2-bed 1 bath to syndicating my first deal last year, which is 200 units in Florida, or Orlando, Florida.
Wow, congratulations. And Orlando, Florida is a hotspot because you see a lot of international guests that come there. Disney is there, Andretti, so many other tourist attractions are there. Another question I have for you, Jim. So you think about you did this 200 apartment complex. Have you ever thought about maybe investing in hotel space or any like commercial buildings that we see going up nowadays? Even though people say, hey, there's no money out there, but every time you look around, something is being built.
Absolutely. So yeah, I've definitely considered. But to start off, I like to just focus on one thing.
Okay.
And the reason why I chose multifamily is because it's the most, in my opinion, I might be biased, but it's just the most stability. It provides the most stability. And to start off, to be able to raise capital, it's hard for to gain my investors' trust. They know me, but it takes time over time for them to like me, trust me, and then eventually invest in me. And so I chose this asset class, multifamily, because it's the safest, the most provides the most stability. And even during downturn, 2008 subprime mortgage crash, there was 4% single family residents that went into foreclosure, whereas in multifamily there's only 0.4%. So yeah, the chances of deals like multifamily defaulting, especially 100+ units, is very, very rare. So that's why I think of it. The reason why I pursue this path is I think for the best interest. I have to think for the best interest for my investor, because when dealing with other people's money, you have to be even more cautious than just dealing with your own money.
Makes sense. And for someone listening in, if they're asking you the question, hey, how much does it take to invest, like ballpark into a multifamily unit, especially if they are just getting started and just finding the right people to partner with. Because of course, like you mentioned, you have to have that no like trust factor in order for somebody to give you X amount of dollars, especially if they don't have that credibility of knowing who you are. And you have the cash, but you just don't have the credibility.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, it does take time, and the first couple raise is typically coming from friends and family, because those are your circle of friends, influence, that trust you, right? That know you. They're basically investing in you. They probably don't even know what you're doing, but ultimately, they know you over time, and they know they can trust you, and that's what they ultimately end up investing in, is you. But though, for those investors, other investors, you just have to continue to put yourself out there, continue to go network, and be on podcast shows like this, and write newsletters and ebooks, and that's what I've been doing.
So for a safe number, would you say that if someone had like 20K stored up, anywhere from 20K to maybe 80K, do you think that would get them started in a syndication space, or do they need to raise more capital to break into the space?
Yeah, it just depends on how big of a deal it is. If you're
Mhm.
targeting, 1 to 4 units, let's say if it's a fourplex, you probably can just do a syndication deal between 2 or 3 other partners. So you probably don't need to raise that much money, right? But if you're doing 100 plus units, typically the minimum investment is between 50 to 100,000. And once you put that money into a syndication deal, it's stuck there. It's not like stock market. It's not liquid. Because the business plan we project is we hold the multifamily for 5 years, and at the end of 5 year hold cycle, the business plan is project that we can 2x equity multiple, 2x your money back. So if you invest 100,000, you'll get 200,000 back on top
Mhm.
of the passive income you get on a yearly basis.
Oh, nice. So it gives you, so audience, that gives you your ROI, your return on investment. And as Jim mentioned, investing in a multifamily unit is a lot safer than investing in a single family unit or whatnot, where that buyer may back out or anything may happen and you necessarily don't get that return on investment. So there's a lot of factors to consider. And one thing I would interject here, it's so important to do your due diligence. Don't just get in the market because it's sexy and you see other people doing it. Get in the market because it's something that you want to do. You're all obviously going to work at it, and the work that you put in, you're also going to get that back. So it's so important to make sure that you are mindful about it. You're educated enough to know the ins and out, but then also partner with people who it's their zone of genius so they could help guide you along and make sure that there's transparency there too.
Absolutely. Make sure to always do your due diligence and research the market, where the population is moving, migrating, if there's job growth there, if it's landlord business friendly, which is one reason I stopped investing out here in California because of the eviction moratorium, where tenants can just literally live in there for years and not pay rent, which is
Oh gosh.
unheard of. Yeah, that's happened to a couple of my investors in the past 2 years. So yeah, invest in the Sun Belt area. People like to move to where there's sunshine. So yeah, those are a couple of key things to look out for.
Mhm. And outside of that, what other key things would you look out for? Because when you think about real estate, like, and I'm new to this space, so you think about, okay, schools. Are there schools in the area? Elementary, middle school, high school? Are there private schools, public schools? What are the shopping areas and et cetera? Because if these are multifamily and depending on what their socioeconomic class is, do they have access to get to certain things that they need to? Are those other factors that you consider from an investment standpoint?
Yeah, those are all relative. So everything you mentioned, if there's amenities around, if there's a gym, if there's a shopping center, if there's grocery market, and how convenient is it? Is it in a good location? If there's medical center, that's important. A lot of people are targeting midterm rentals these days. I'm pretty sure you heard of short-term rental, which is Airbnb. But
Yeah.
midterm rental is a new thing. It's like
Oh,
you don't rent for a whole year, but you rent for 3 to 6 months at a time. And these midterm rental, they target people like traveling nurses, right? And so there's a lot of demand for that, because anywhere where there's hospital, you can definitely buy up these scoop up these real estate and rent midterm rentals.
oh, that's new. So midterm rentals, y'all. That would also work for executives that travel for extended periods of time. That would be a great one for them. Another thing that just jumped out at me. So whenever you and I were booking behind the scenes, it said Formosa. Can you explain what Formosa is and how does it weave into your business?
Sure. So I came up with the name Formosa because I'm from Taiwan, and Taiwan is a little island in Asia where back in 1500 Portuguese discovered the island before it was named Taiwan, and they called it Formosa, which means the beautiful island. And ever since then, Taiwanese took that as something they're proud of. And every time when a Taiwanese investor sees my logo, they automatically recognize my brand, and that's my niche.
Oh, love it. Thank you for sharing that. And it also gives you a competitive advantage too, especially if you're partnering with other Taiwanese. So I want to throw you a audible here, Jim, as our time is getting ready to wind down. Is there anything that I haven't asked you or you haven't shared regarding the work that you're doing within the real estate space that is important for the audience to know so we can hold them accountable if they're thinking about getting into real estate?
I think again, just to recap everything, just if I had to tell my younger self, just be able to change your attitude and be able to just put yourself out there and explore and try new things. I think the most important part is definitely the networking component. You know, the sooner you can start to put yourself out there and network with people, with like-minded people, the better, right? You can establish that relationship and eventually build it up. But I think one thing that I've noticed that I should have done earlier too is instead of thinking investing in real estate and always think about, okay, how many properties can I acquire this year and what's my goal on that? Think of also to put some of that money towards investing in yourself. And when I say that, you know, join mastermind groups, right? Spend $5,000, $10,000 to join a mastermind group. Surround yourself with like-minded people, and these people also pay that amount of money to be in there, so you know they're serious, and you can learn so much from each other. You can also create partnerships with each other, and that's going to compress your time frame so much. And that's one thing that I would encourage everyone to do.
Brilliant. And that was a great recap. Another thing, y'all, remember the slogan, networking is tied to your net worth. So who is within your pipeline, and are they in your pipeline because you're helping that individual and they're helping you? Because we as individuals have to get outside of the WIFM method, which is what's in it for me. And we need to change the me for we. What's in it for we? How can we collaborate? How can we link arms? How can we partner our zone of genius with their zone of genius to go further and faster and reach out more people, acquire more real estate together, tap into new endeavors, learn something new, and have an exchange of ideas that is mutually beneficial. And when you get past the what's in it for me and get over that hurdle and say what's in it for we, how are we coming together to really create the synergies, collaborate, and etc., you can see how your return on investment is going to double, triple, quadruple. You could see how more people are going to be open to working with you. You'll get past some of the fears that you may have, and you'll start to see things are going to flow to you naturally because of the mindset that you have, your willingness to learn, and your openness. And people won't see you as one-sided. That's the biggest thing that I would say personally and professionally that has helped me. And I'm sure that's what has helped you too, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add on, that was very well said. I loved it. I'm gonna definitely go back and listen to this again. Um, to add on to that is I look at life as three sides of the coin, right? You got the heads, the tails, and the edge. If you can just look at the other side of the coin and stay on the edge, that's where you'll learn the most.
I love it. And now, audience, we're going to jump into the CTA, which is a call to action. This is a part of the segment where Jim is going to tell you his call to action for you and also share his contact information so you could get a hold of him.
Yeah, so you can check me out at formosainvesting.com. I wrote a short ebook, 20 pages long, as all the mistake I made as a real estate investor, so you don't have to make them. And then you can also check out my social media links: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram at Formosa Investing.
I love it. And there you have it, y'all. Jim Lee with Formosa Investing. All of his contact information will be in the show notes. So all you have to do is click those hyperlinks and tap in to work with Jim. Lastly, but not least, make sure you subscribe and follow. The podcast is available on 40 plus audio platforms, so a space for everyone to listen. And the video is on YouTube. So go to Gems with Genesis Amaris Kemp. And my big ASK is for brand sponsors and listener supporters. It is paid sponsorship because it does take monetary resources to fuel the mission and movement behind the show, which is to consistently bring content that is educational, inspirational, and motivational, while also weaving in my personal favorites, DEI&B, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Because whether you believe it or not, it does take all of us coming together to make this world a better place. We are here to leave an imprint. That imprint is to drive an impact in order for us to be individuals and be world changers that we desire and destined to be. Without you, can the world go on? Yes, but with you, you can accomplish so much more by adding some value and making sure people pick up what you're putting down and make the world go round and round. So until the next guest, peace, love, and lots of blessings. Have yourself an amazing day, y'all.